What are we doing with our life?
I don't really know what we're doing, but I do know that we usually start the podcast something like this. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to Something to Wrestle with Bruce Prichard. Bruce, what's going on?
Answer the question. What the hell are we doing with our lives?
Here we are recording on a Father's Day. We hope you guys had a great Father's Day, and we hope you're going to have a kick-ass week. Hope you enjoyed Clash at the Castle over the weekend.
And happy Father's Day to you.
And happy Father's Day to
No,
you.
the other way.
And tune in tonight for a big Monday Night Raw to see everything that happened at Clash at the Castle. I know we don't talk about current stuff, Bruce, but what a hot crowd. Again, man, these international PLEs are going banana.
In Scotland and Glasgow.
There you go.
That's right, Glasgow. You know, I had some beautiful, beautiful fish and chips there. You know, it's like you got the fish, you get the chips, you get the malt vinegar. You put the malt vinegar on there, and then you salt. Oh my God, it was lovely, absolutely lovely, but beautiful. I mean, you and I went to Glasgow. Absolutely beautiful country, man. Love it.
Well, we are excited to be back with you here today. We're doing something kind of fun. We call it Ask Bruce Anything. Bruce had
Can I ask you a question first?
You can.
Did you take Ambian?
I do not.
Okay, well, I do.
I knew that. I know you have a routine that involves.
Yeah, it involves I take some CBD water, and CBN and all this stuff and everything. But you know how like you ever probably you haven't, but you ever like just half asleep go on the internet and you just start scrolling through things and maybe you're looking at things and you maybe you did a search at one point for mango something or other, and an ad pops up for mango taffy, and next thing you know, the next day you're looking at your emails and it says, "Hey, congratulations, your order is shipped." You know, order? What order? And you get 25 pounds of taffy delivered to your door.
You got high on Ambian and ordered 25 pounds?
Well, I took my nighttime meds. I went to bed.
But you didn't stay in
somewhere in the middle of that evening, I got up and came in here and apparently ordered 25 pounds, $164 worth of taffy.
Well, okay, hang on. You didn't order it on your phone in bed. You got out of bed. I'm not sophisticated enough to do the phone thing with that kind of an order. I wouldn't even know how to start. So help me understand. You were scrolling your phone in bed, saw the ad, and got motivated to get out of bed, go to your desk, and order 25 pounds of candy?
I'm not sure of the exact, whole machinations of what took place. All I know is that the next day, get an email that says, "Hey, your order has shipped." I said, "Oh, what order?" I look at the order and start scrolling through it. Look, it's a lot of taffy.
25 pounds.
25 pounds of taffy. $164 worth of taffy.
I mean, how many years will it take for your family to eat that?
This was left over right there. Yeah. No. No, I'm kidding. There's
Wait, is that a vase with the WWE logo on it?
So this is a champagne gimmick that somebody gave me. My name's on there somewhere.
Oh wow, how about that?
So that's me, Prichard.
How about that?
So that was a gift. So my lovely wife put some of the taffy in there. She says, "Why don't you do that and bring that and put that on your desk?" It's because then I'll eat it. I don't want to eat it. I'm working out again.
Then why did you order 25 pounds?
I don't know. I wasn't conscious when I did it.
Okay. Cool story, bro. Hey, did you get anything cool for Father's Day, hypothetically, like in the mail? Like when you came home from Scotland or whatever accent you used?
I got this just wonderful gift, and you can see half of it like kind of right here. You'll see the other half?
Yeah, sure.
Look.
How about that? Man, what a cool moment that was from WrestleMania.
Absolutely a moment in time captured on a beautiful print from a great picture, and just good God, it was shocking. But you sit there and look at it and go, what a beautiful time. And our friends that Paint Your Life that do excellent work and did this. And it was like, full disclosure, I didn't know, okay, because I get things sent to the office and the house all the time. I don't know who is what or what is who. And I got this wonderful gift, and I'm like, oh, well, who's it from? So I can thank them. So I'm telling you this story, and then you're like, oh, yeah, well, that was me. I'm like, okay, well, thank you. Very, very kind, because, again, that moment was very, very special to me. And if you have a special moment that you want to capture and do it in a really unique way, because I've been using Paint Your Life for a long time. Guys, actually, this is not a commercial.
No.
Okay?
No.
I mean, I guess it is, because you can go to paintyourlife.com and text WRESTLE to 87204 for 20% off and free shipping. But I've used Paint Your Life. I've got Rowdy. Okay. That's upstairs with my daughters.
Your dog.
That's Amber's dog.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's upstairs in Amber's wing of the house. I got Dodger. Got Wally. And we just got Bean. And those are all my dogs. All my dogs. And those are all in the bedrooms and stuff. And then I had this beautiful picture that we had taken in Cabo of the family, and we had that one done as well. That's like right around the corner in there. So if you have a special moment, go to Paint Your Life, man, and save 20% off and get some free shipping by texting Russell to 87204. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it.
We wanted to do something nice for Father's Day, because you're the daddy over here at somethingtowrestle.com. And if you missed your chance for Father's Day, there's a birthday coming up. There's a graduation coming up. There's an anniversary coming up. There's more holidays on the way. But if you're looking to give the most meaningful gift you've ever given, look no further than paintyourlife.com. And there's no risk. If you don't love the final painting, your money is refunded, guaranteed. And right now is a limited time offer. As you heard Bruce say, you can get 20% off your painting. That's right. You heard us, 20% off and free shipping. Now, to get the special offer, just text the word WRESTLE to 87204. That's WRESTLE to 87204. Just text WRESTLE to 87204. Paint your life. Celebrate the moments that matter most.
You're going to love it. And, it's a special moments. Michael Hayes, Freebird Michael Hayes.
Yeah.
He's had a lot of special moments. Sometimes Jimmy Jam came along. Those were the best times. Now they're gone. Freebird Road. Check it out on YouTube. We're trying to get those views up just so I can show Michael. I did that. Hey, we did that.
We got a bunch of questions over at somethingtowrestle.com.
And
yeah, I want to hit some.
Why don't you ask me some of them?
Francis Reyes actually has one.
Yo, Francis.
About Michael Hayes. He says, where's the strangest place you've been with Mr. P.S. Hayes where someone hit him with the doot?
Michael travels every week, and he's in and out of airports and hotels and all this stuff all the time. And he gets so tickled every time, wherever he is, somebody will just look at him and not say, oh my God, look, Freebird Michael P.S. Hayes. And they just look at him and go, dude, you're the dude, man. And he's just like, names. Yeah. I tell you, though, I've known Michael for more years than I would really care to admit, over 40 years. And, we've done a lot of things together. We've lost bags of herbal remedies, from getting into my car and driving 100 yards and him losing a bag of weed, to we were in San Antonio one time, and we were kind of like on a retreat type of a thing, creative retreat. And we had, I don't know, man, everybody was pissed off at us. They were like, oh, okay, I don't want anybody to go out, tonight. You guys all need to get together, and you guys need to come up with something for tomorrow, and blah, 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 blah. But I don't want you out partying and, getting in trouble doing anything stupid. Well, that's fine, but we're adults. And the younger folks on the team, they took that message to heart. And they were very much like, well, by God, I'm going to stay in. We've done our work. We have something to present tomorrow, but I'm going to stay in. I'm going to be rested. I'm going to be ready to go. Michael and I look at each other and go, let's go to the bar. We might have inhaled a few things, and we go down to the bar and we proceed to drink heavily. And, Michael's one of those guys, man, that, he'll hit that plateau and then he'll go right off the edge. And I'm a happy drunk. I drink, I'm happy, and then I just want to go sleep. So there was nobody at the bar. And Michael knew the owner of the hotel, so they're like staying open as long as we need to and just giving us whatever we want. And now, okay, so I'm going to bed. Michael's falling off the edge. Michael's kind of there. So we go and we get in the elevator. As we go in the elevator, we think we have, we dodged this bullet because we're stoned, we're drunk, and now we're going to go to bed. Nobody caught us. And as we're riding up in the elevator, ding! Oh, shit. Somebody's getting on the elevator. Oh, man. We're going to have to tell them because they probably hit the button to go down. We're going up. Nobody goes up on the 8th floor to get to the 11th. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The elevator door is open. And there's Stephanie and Triple H.
Oh, no.
Our boss. And we looked at each other. Oh, I'm sorry. I left out a very important part. When we get in the elevator, Michael's like, "Hey." I'm like, what? He goes, "Watch right." Bam. It just pops me in the mouth with his working punch. Because I'd rather have him hit me with his best punch he's got because it will be softer than his working punch. And so my lip is bleeding. And all that shit. So when the door's open, there I am, bloody lip, going down, Michael, blood on his hand. And we're just like, and doors open. We're like, oh, shit. We didn't do nothing. And where are you guys going? We're going up to Vince's room. We have dinner. It's okay. What floor? Oh, yeah, 11 right there. So come to find out, my room was right next door to Vince's.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was great. And they didn't say anything to us. But yeah, it was a little hand caught in the cookie jar there a little bit. It was fun. Well, I mean, really, what are you gonna do?
Went down. That's what it is at that point.
Beverage.
Instagram a wrestling historian says Tori Wilson was originally going to be the first Divas champion. True or false? Thanks in advance. I hadn't heard that before. Is that something that rings a bell to you, that maybe the Divas championship was going to be Tori Wilson up first?
God, I have no idea. Who was the first Divas champion?
Oh, I was hoping that you would know.
Why would I know that?
Well, I mean, you work there.
Yeah, well, she might have been discussed. I'm sure. Again, in discussions, everybody is discussed. Okay, you have a roster. You look at everybody. How does everybody fit into this? Could they possibly work here? Could they not? And I'm sure Tori was probably discussed in that. And probably would have been great champion. Their talent, and a lot of times Tori did not get into this business to wrestle. She was a fitness model. She got in to be just a player at WCW. And when WWF bought WCW, she was one of the talent, her and Stacy Keibler, that we wanted to keep. And, Tori is probably, you would be hard pressed to find a more genuine, just kind of sweetheart than Tori. She's just absolutely great. But she worked at it, man. She tried, and she got in there, busted her butt, but it wasn't something that she really longed to do. But she enjoyed the business. She enjoyed being around everybody, and she enjoyed doing what she did. But yeah, I would say that she was probably discussed, but I don't think it was, okay, it's going to be Tori Wilson, by God.
Michelle McCool was the first champion.
Okay.
Drew Landry says on Kurt Angle's old show, he mentioned that he tried to wrestle Bret Hart for WrestleMania 18 in Toronto. Do you remember this? And is that match a great what if to you? Do you remember that ever even being discussed? 2002, Bret and Kurt Angle?
Yeah, not by us. Again, it's guys sometimes will have in their head, I sure would like to do this.
Right.
And maybe they mention it or they talk to somebody and go, yeah. Bret wasn't back in the ring by that point by any stretch of the imagination. And Bret had suffered the concussion and already had the stroke and all of those things. So, Bret had no designs on being in the ring for anybody or anything for any reason. So the thought that even could have remotely happened and or been discussed on a real basis, absolutely untrue. Not in a million years, because Bret wasn't ready at that point. Not even remotely close would Bret have considered A, coming back with the company, and B, well, maybe come back with the company, but he wouldn't have considered at that point getting back in the ring. In that phase of his life, he was not in a place mentally, physically, or any other way that he would have done that. I think Kurt sometimes imagines things, and he will talk about them and talk it into existence. Whereas would it have been great in their prime? Holy cow, it would have been fabulous. But no, that time frame, absolutely not.
Let's talk about 2010. That's when we would actually see Bret get back in the ring. I know you weren't with WWE then, but were you surprised to see Bret get back in the ring at all? I mean, at that point, he had been out of the ring since 2000. And as you mentioned, he had the concussion and the stroke and all the health issues. And it just felt like he'd been put through the ringer. But then we saw him wrestle, I don't know, like a dozen times or something like that in 2010. I know the first match back was with Vince. And then after that, mostly tag affairs. But I was still kind of shocked that Bret came back. I kind of thought that would have been it. Were you surprised that he came back?
I was very surprised I was very surprised just because of his health more than anything. And I think that Bret didn't want to tarnish his career and tarnish what he had done previously. If that makes any sense, because Bret looked at his body of work. He was proud of his body of work. And Bret was always one of those guys that didn't want to go away and come back later on and be less than what he was before. So for him to do that, yeah, I was shocked. But it also, at the same time, I think that Bret in his head was still one of those individuals that was talented enough that he knew what his limitations were and could work around them. Bret on his worst day could have a great match with a broomstick. So he did that with Vince. I don't know how great the match was, but so yeah, I could see Bret coming back and doing it. I just think that if you'd asked me, 5 years before that, you see Bret Hart coming back? I'd say no.
Drew Landry has an interesting question, especially for 2024. WWE used to do matches with little people and call them mini Mankind or mini Vader. Any chance it could happen again? I, for one, would love to see a mini Brother Love or a mini Jim Cornette. Do you think we'll see mini versions of the roster superstars?
You never say never. I don't know that there are a plethora of mini talent available anymore. It's interesting that we have this discussion often because Hornswoggle is a friend of mine and great guy. And he is, these are his words, folks. So don't start writing your text. Don't get your thumbs in a wad. He's a midget. He prefers midget. He hates it when people call him little people. He's like, I'm a midget. He embraces that fact. And in years past, that's you used to have on posters and things of that nature if you were doing spot shows, and it would be, hey, by God, here's your main event, Primo Carnera versus Antonio Rocca, whatever, Burnham Snavis, plus girls and midgets. And that was an attraction. Like most of the time, you never even knew who they were going to be. The attraction was girls and midgets. So you had two women wrestlers and you had two midget wrestlers. They would have a match. Sometimes then you do a mixed tag. They'd work the territory, go around the horn. That's what it was. But most of the little folks liked the word midget because that's what they felt they were. Even those that were dwarfs, because that's what they are. And they're people. They're little, but I mean, so if someone is 4'10", does that make them a little do you go call them a little person if they're short? A baby is a little person. Well, it is. What? You're a big person. I'm a big person.
Sometimes I just throw you a little rope. And
Silva's well, we're not going to talk about him.
Hey, let's do a question here from Michael. Michael says, I know you enjoyed playing Brother Love, but most of your work has been behind the scenes. Do you miss performing? That's a good question.
I do to a point, but then to another point, I don't. I do and I don't. So as Brother Love, it allowed me to escape. It allowed me to go out and be somebody else and perform. The fun of being behind the scenes is you get to play everybody and you have input on all of the characters. So it's like you put yourself into the mix and you imagine, okay, what would you do here? What would they do here? And you get to play all the characters. And that to me is more fun. But of course I love performing. I miss it. I loved it. And it's something that once it's in your blood, man, there is nothing like walking out and hearing that live audience cheering or booing, just reacting. It is like a drug, and it is the best drug in the world.
Great question here from Ari. He says, at what point did Bruce realize—
Hello, sir. Yes, sir, Mr. Ari, sir. Yes, sir. Whatever you need, sir.
Rosenbaum. So you're—
well, that could be related. I don't know.
At what point did Bruce realize that the territory system was going to die? Was this before Paul Bosch sold out to Vince? When did you know that the territory days were numbered?
Probably around 85, 86. And here's why. Because as Vince was expanding and Crockett was trying to expand, you had Bill Watts who thought that, he was going to expand as well, and he was going to be a national brand and a national promotion. The focus on the actual territories, if you will, just went away because I'll use Bill Watts as an example. Watts ran Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas. But when he started to expand, it was like, okay, we're going to go to LA. We're going to go to Chicago. My God, we're going to go to New York. And he would go to these different areas to run his shows. But, oh, shit, we got to get back to do TV in Tulsa or Fort Worth or Houston. And it became a hindrance. So then there was talk of, do we want to do our television on the road? More so. But for Watts, it just didn't pan out. The beyond the Mid-South, that it never got any traction at all because they were working on lies. They were working on not lies, but twisting and skewing the truth. Like, well, by God, we're number one in Sacramento in our time slot from 2:00 in the morning till 3:00 in the morning on Sunday night. So, but we're number one. You weren't number one in the market. You were number one in your time slot, which your time slot was the shits on a shitty station. So while you may have done 1,000 viewers, that doesn't translate to filling a 10,000 seat arena because nobody's there. And that was kind of the spin that was being put in Bill's ear that, he thought, well, by God, we're doing all these great numbers everywhere. We can outdraw Vince. We can outdraw Crockett. We'll outdraw everybody. They're not number one in the market. Well, if you truly looked at the ratings, yeah, they were kicking your ass because they were in better time slots. So it just was, by that time, you saw the focus on the territory start to dwindle because people were trying to expand. And the territory became less and less important. It was conquering the rest of the world.
Francis Reyes has a follow-up question. Does Bruce have any stuff from the WWE warehouse in his office? That's interesting since you've gone back. Now, I don't mean your home office. I mean like your office. Did you decorate it with anything that maybe they had and you knew, hey, this is from the golden era? I want to throw this up somewhere.
Well, Ben Brown is listening. I'm still waiting on getting my black and whites that are supposed to be up.
I'm waiting.
Currently, you know what? Currently, no, I don't.
Well, you said currently, so it means you used to, right?
No, I mean that I'm going to.
Okay.
So I want to have the black and whites from the Jeff Winningham Friday Night in the Coliseum book.
Oh, yeah.
And have all those up. Yeah.
That's cool.
So you got me some from Wahoo's Widow.
Yep.
Okay. So I was having those framed. And then there were also other prints that he had from the Houston office. So I was just waiting for them to get framed and get done and be put up. And that some of that is going to come from the warehouse.
I'm waiting on some stuff from Ben right now too. Shout out to Ben.
Well, tell him if you got Bruce's black and whites done yet.
I'm not going to throw him off the trail for what he's working on for me.
Well, I'm going to throw him off the trail for what he's working. I will.
No.
Help text him right now.
No. Hey, I'm talking to Conrad.
Dear Ben.
Conrad.
Ben.
Jackson says, I've been watching a lot of old JCP lately. Any stories on guys like Boogie Woogie Man, Jimmy Valiant, Pez Watley, Magnum TA, or the Midnight or Rock and Roll Express? You spent some time with some of those folks. Any fun stories for those guys?
Magnum TA is a great one. When Magnum first started in the business, he came to San Antonio and I forget who was booking. Maybe been Tully at the time or Buck or somebody. I don't know. But I remember Magnum coming. Eric Embry was in the territory. My brother Tom was in the territory. And what I remember about Magnum was he had this huge Samsonite bag and came around. But from day one, Terry Allen would get to the buildings early and get whoever he could get to get into the ring with him and help teach him. And he was a sponge. He wanted to be in the business. He wanted to be the best in the business and would work his ass off, man, just all day and all night and always ask questions. And that's when you can tell somebody that is dedicated and really wants to do this. And that was Magnum TA. So to see him grow the way that he did, he left, he went back to Florida, then he came to Watts before he went to Crockett. And Watts really, man, put him with Mr. Wrestling 2. And I'm not a big Wrestling 2 fan. I thought, to this day, I don't see how Wrestling 2 got over. But he did. So, kudos to him. He knew what he was doing. I just didn't care for the human being behind the mask. But it was Magnum TA and Wrestling 2 is a tag team. So every night, Magnum is in there with an old pro telling him what to do and what not to do and critiquing his work. And then they split up and he worked with 2. And that was, a whole brand new education. So Terry was willing to put the work in. And when he hit, deserved everything he got, man, because he fought hard for it. He busted his ass and is a good guy. So you applaud that. Horrible tragedy, with the accident that took him out of the business in the ring. But he was a guy that really, busted his ass and deserved everything that he got because he worked for it. The Midnight Express, they started in Mid-South with Jim Cornette and had a program with Wrestling 2 and Magnum TA, So this is Cornette's first really big break. I would also say it was Bobby's first big break. You know, Dennis had worked territories before that, and Dennis was the old grizzled vet. But man, they were a magnificent tag team that just the three of them traveled together, ate together, slept together, everything. You know, it was constant and tremendous, tremendous team that just you saw them. The sum of their parts, you know, it was like they were great as a team. If you were to split them up individually, you know, your star is going to be Cornette because he could talk. Bobby couldn't talk. Bobby could just work. Dennis could talk, but didn't want to talk. But they were great workers, and they were a great tag team. Rock and Roll Express, man. Rock and Roll Express were teamed, in my opinion, from what I grew up in a big man territory in Texas. And all of a sudden you have these little people. You know, and you look at it. Robert Gibson wasn't small. Ricky was small, but in comparison to Nikolai Volkov and Barry Darsow and Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Butch Reed, they were small. And that's what you're accustomed to. You're accustomed to the Bruiser Brodies. And all of a sudden, these little fellas come in here and all of a sudden, what the hell is this? But what the Rock and Roll Express did that was unique was they were positioned as tag team specialists. As a team, they were unbeatable because they knew that if you were to isolate Ricky or isolate Robert, that one-on-one, they may not have been as good, but as a team, they couldn't be beat. And they proved it by putting them against Darsow and Nikolai Volkov, two big monsters, Russian monsters, okay? And Ricky and Robert beat them with tag team moves, double teaming, the double drop kick, you know, double whips, the double backdrops and all this. Everything was a tag team maneuver. And that was something that was different because we had never really had a tag team. You know, you had tag team matches, but there's one guy teaming with another guy for a reason. You didn't have tag teams, at least in Texas. And it was, to me, that was just ingenious, the way that was done. And my hat's off to Bill Dundee and Bill Watts for the way that was orchestrated, because it made it believable. And you got somebody that you could get behind, and it brought in the younger demographic because they were young, came out to rock and roll music. And the rest, as I say, is history.
Do you think Vince would have seen money in Magnum TA in an alternate universe if the accident doesn't happen, Crockett goes down, he's got an opportunity to sign again with Ted Turner in WCW or take a meeting with Vince? Do you think Vince would have seen money in Magnum in the WWE?
Sure. Absolutely. I mean, Magnum had money all over him. Magnum had charisma. So just standing there, you like Magnum. So he was a man's man. Plus, all the women loved him because he looked like Tom Selleck with a better body, and he could go. So there was nothing to dislike about Magnum. So he had all the elements of a superstar.
That era of the WWF was really known for so many great managers too. It's hard to imagine that Jim Cornette wouldn't have been a big hit there as one of the mouthpieces, stable for Vince. Is there an alternate universe where the Midnight Express were lighting things up, say 85 to 90 in the WWE?
I definitely think they could have been a big hit in the WWF at that time. And look, Cornette came in and did great with Yokozuna. And, he did have his time there. And I thought he did an excellent job.
I just think when he was there, it was kind of a down period for the WWE. But if he could have been there for the boom, man, that would have been something else.
Would have been great.
Let's do a question here from Trill Mexican 305. What a great name that is. What moment did he share? He is you, pal. With Eddie Guerrero the night he won the WWE Championship at No Way Out 2004. Do you remember that night?
Very well. Eddie came back, and it was very personal to Eddie to be the champion and to know that, okay, all this is on you now. So Eddie coming back, man, it was just, we hugged each other and cried because it was culmination of so many people telling him he'll never make it and he was not going to do it. And, no, Eddie, you're a fuck up. You're a drug addict. You can't do this. You're too small. And in my head, I go back to when they were the Love Machines, Art Barr and Eddie in Mexico. I just looked at him, actually both of them, but more so Eddie, because he was Latino. That I go, man, this guy's a star. This guy will be a mega star. And I always believed that Eddie could be and would be the man one day. And he did. And it was just a very emotional moment because I'd been with Eddie through a lot of his drug stuff and everything and always supported him and just let him know, hey, I'm here, whatever. And that was, there was a friendship there that it's like, you did it, and from Chavo and Hector and those guys that I love to death, that Tom and I were kind of honorary Guerreros and had a friendship with all those guys. And it was just, it was special. It was special. It was like a member of the family finally making it, and getting that nod. That was a big deal.
Here's a question from Matthew. He says, being in the gorilla position most of his career, who had some unique pre-curtain walkout routines? I know a lot of guys just walk out or pray, but I'm sure there have been some different ones through the years that maybe made Bruce raise an eyebrow. Anything interesting in a pre-match ritual that you saw?
Howard Finkel. Howard Finkel would warm up and he would jump up and down in place. He's like, and he would and do Finkelisms and do a couple jumping jacks and just, like talk to himself. And then he will to get the crowd going in the very beginning of the night, to kick everything off. We've been somewhere for something, and before the main act came out, they played Welcome to the Jungle. And we started doing Welcome to the Jungle. And that was Howard's music, so to speak. So he would be back and he would be jumping up and down and moving around and doing jumping jacks and just, by God, psyching himself up for that evening's festivities. And then, welcome to the jungle. And he would sing the first few lines and sprint off through those curtains. And like he was Hulk Hogan. It was great. But it was always very entertaining. Very entertaining. He warmed up more than most of the boys.
Well, listen, maybe you've got a little pre-match ritual that you do before you throw down. Well, can I recommend that you add Blue Chew to your repertoire? Let's think of it as like a hot tag for your wiener. It's got the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but in chewable form and at a fraction of the cost. Take these dudes anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. You'll sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within a few days. And here's the best part, it's all online. That means no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversation, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA, prepared and shipped directly to your door, all in a discreet package. Blue Chew wants to help you have better sex. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. Let's chew it and do it. We've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code WRESTLE at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com. The promo code is WRESTLE, and you'll receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we want to thank Blue Chew for sponsoring today's podcast. Bruce, you ever have a Blue Chew last too long, maybe?
Never.
Good. Good. Because
if you do, you got to consult a physician. And that's
just... Thinking Man Sports here says, if Bret remained with the WWF in 1997, so we're saying he's not leaving, the screw job doesn't happen, how much different does Bruce thinks things would have been going forward? For example, does Vince McMahon ever become the Mr. McMahon character? And what would have happened with Bret after WrestleMania 14, etc.? We've talked about this a little bit before because we know that, Bret's out of there in November and Shawn is done by April. So you're losing two of your top stars for the past several years, just back to back. It's a 1-2 punch. Now, of course, you've made Austin and The Rock is right around the corner and so many others. But if the screw job never happened, do you think we still would have found a way to get Mr. McMahon?
I think anything's possible. Again, you're dealing in hypotheticals that are, hey, what if, if, I'm not going to say, what is it? Bullfrogs had wings, they fly. But I don't know. I mean, yeah, she could have got there, but the bottom line is had Bret not left, Bret would have been figured in a big way and been a major part of that. It would have been logical after Steve becomes champion to go back to Bret.
That would have been fantastic, man.
It's a logical extension, but that didn't happen. What did happen is, we go on to Mick Foley and, Vince is involved in that, and you got Mr. McMahon.
Alex has a question for us. He says, how would Bruce rebook Muhammad Hassan's run? I feel like he was a great talent that got screwed over by real life events. Heck of a nice guy in real life, and it does feel like he was a victim of timing. We've probably heard that story a million times. Is there another idea, an alternate universe, something you would have done differently with the Muhammad Hassan character had that not happened?
Well, I wouldn't have done anything different with that character. I think if anything, look, man, we did a whole episode on him, and I think that Mark's great guy, wonderful guy, but he also was afraid of the heat. Didn't like the heat. Didn't really want the heat. So when you factor that in, it's like the heel that wants to be cheered. I want people to cheer me. I want people to like me. Well, then why are you a heel? If you're a heel, you should relish being hated and being booed. That's great. But the problem is when you are portraying a heel, but yet you're acting like a babyface, there's a simple lack of trust with the audience because they don't know who you are. And whether, you say, oh, well, no, I'm playing my part. The audience knows. Sometimes they can't always put their finger on it. I just think that if he had dug into the role more and shown more desire to dig into it, I don't think that would have changed the real life things that took place at the time, but it would have changed the desire to, okay, well, now what do we do? And is he going to put more effort into whatever else we come up with? And it was just, unfortunately for him, it was too hot at the time, man. It was an unfortunate set of circumstances that real life dictated that, we can't go there, man. Just can't go there. And that's tough for a talent. That's tough for a character, especially someone like that.
Let's do a question here from Leland Patterson. He says, hey, Bruce, any good stories about Tom Carlucci? That's a name that we've heard before. Any Carlucci stories?
Tom Carlucci was the shipper at WWF in the warehouse there for the TV studio. And when we opened, Tommy, was a shipper there. His wife wasn't his wife at the time. Worked for me. She was my first assistant, and great lady. And Tommy actually asked for permission to ask her out because it was, they worked in the same place and she was my assistant. I'm like, yeah, no, please go ahead. And then they've had a wonderful, wonderful life and great family. And their son still works for us from time to time. And Shell's daughter, Sarah, was my assistant just recently.
Oh, wow.
And she's off at A&E now and building her career. But I've known them since day one.
Wow.
Great people.
Chuck says these England, Scotland, and France shows seem to have a lot of excitement surrounding them. What's a country Bruce thinks would be fun to do a PLE or a live show from that hasn't had one yet?
Texas. Wait.
Come on now. Country.
What? Well, Texas is its own country, damn it.
It ought to be. I'd love to send y'all somewhere else.
What's that supposed to mean?
I don't know. Just, Silva moved to Texas, and
does he have his passport?
He's getting closer to home,
Wow. Let me think. For a PLE or for TV, I think that Mexico would be great.
Oh, God, it'd be awesome.
Because, they're very passionate fans, and it would be a completely different atmosphere. I think Mexico would be awesome. Go to Mexico City for a few days and knock out some TVs and a PLE, and I think that would be a hell of an environment. Beyond that, we're doing a lot of Europe and things of that nature, but to go into South America, go into Chile, and do something there would be fantastic as well, because it's anytime you can go into a market for the first time and do a TV, the audience is so appreciative, and they're hungry. They're hungry for the product. So to me, that's the prime time to go when they're really feeling it. And so far, we've been very fortunate in, hitting them right and get into that market, and they're happy as hell to see you.
We got another one here from Aaron. He wants to know, who are the best dressed and the worst dressed people in professional wrestling?
Ric Flair, best dressed. Best dressed man in the business. Yeah. Back in the day, it was a little different. Your top guys dress well, and your not so top guys were just kind of come in jeans or flip flops and shorts or what have you. But Rick takes the cake for being the best dressed man in the business. Always. Rick was always dressed, always looked the part, always was there. Worst dressed. Holy cow. So many.
I mean, Mick Foley's got to be on the list, right?
Mick Foley may take the cake. Yeah.
I mean, he's super cash all the time.
Well, yeah. And only has, one pair of underwear, one pair of pants, one shirt, and he rides the building in them, works in them, rings them out and puts them back on. Dude, that's true. That's what he does.
Rings them out and puts them back on.
Yeah.
Okay.
You do a thing with him, ask him.
All right. Next time I talk to him, I'll ask him.
Yeah. Ask him about like working in his stuff and like peeling it off and then going in, taking a shower, and then peeling it back on.
Flair said once that he would shower with his clothes on to save time. He could wash.
Well, yeah, save time and try and get some of the stink out of the clothes.
Well, I thought that was make believe. I thought Flair was just busting balls, but you're saying
no.
Okay.
No, that's 100% accurate. What, I mean, it was, yeah, he wore the same shit. You saw him in the supermarket or the gas station, whatever. He's wearing the same thing that he wore to work in the night before. Slept in his car, slept in people's houses, would get big bags of popcorn from concessions and eat that for dinner, or leftover pizza, whatever it was, man. Mick did not spend a lot of money on the road, if any.
He learned how to be frugal.
He was very frugal. Owen Hart too. Owen was very frugal.
Drew Roper has a question that I've never even thought to ask you. With WWE being in New York City as often as they did Vince or his dad ever have to deal with the Mafia?
No, I'll tell you when we were going through trying to get the state athletic commissions abolished because they're a joke. We were in White Plains, and it was Pat Patterson and myself standing up on the stage, and this guy walks up to us and says, "Hey, you guys travel a lot with Vince, don't you?" I'm like, yeah. So yeah, he's making a lot of noise trying to get the state athletic commissions abolished, and a lot of important people, a lot of people are upset about that. Now it'd be a shame if somebody was so upset that they wanted to eliminate him, and God, what if it'd be terrible if they missed, and you guys are always with him, I'd be careful. Guy walks away. Pat and I look at each other. Well, were we just threatened? And took off and found the guy. He was actually the commissioner for that night, and had a few choice words with him. Threw him out of the building, and told him, "The next time come back," I said, "don't make a threat, man. If you're gonna do something, do it." That was it. But there wasn't, there was no, nothing ever that I saw. That was probably the closest thing to it, and that was from the state athletic commission, who were, New York. More than anything, it was, you're dealing with unions,
right?
Going to these buildings, you got the IATSE, you have union buildings, which make it very difficult sometimes to get things done. And we got to the point where we just, paid the union to stay at home, pay them, here's what you would have made, but let us do it. And they would send in a couple people to watch us do it, but we did it so much faster. If you do a union show, for example, in Madison Square Garden, for them to load in and load out, you would have to have 2 extra days to do it. And we can load in and load out, like that. So through the years, you learn how to work with them, and they're doing what they do.
We got a question here from Corey that I know you're going to like. Would Bruce rather take magic lessons from Fantasia or wrestling lessons from the Ultimate Warrior?
Jesus Christ.
Pick your poison.
Well, all Fantasia can do is set me on fire, so definitely do that.
It'd be worse to be with Warrior.
Oh God, yes. I mean, at least Fantasia I could do like. Watch this. Well, see this?
Wow, where did it go?
Yeah.
You go see this magic for yourself right now on our YouTube channel. That's somethingtowrestle.com. If you haven't already, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and be sure to turn on the notifications bell so you'll know when we've got a new video or when we're going to do it live. Celeste wants to know, what's the biggest difference in booking shows now versus booking way back when in the early days?
In the early days, every market had its own personality. So you would book to the market very distinctly, and you would look at what you did the last time that you were there and try to follow up on it. And you tried to program the town a little bit. Now, if you go way, way back, every town was programmed so that you had a show that was leapfrogging to the next show. So whatever you did then was the precursor to the next show, and we did something on that show to make you want to come back. Now it's an attraction. You're booking to come and see the show, and the show is the storylines that you see on television. You're going to be able to see the superstars live and in living color in person in your town. So come on out and be a part of it. So it's just a philosophical difference of then, we ran the same town every week or every 2 weeks. So you had to program the town. Now you're in a market maybe twice a year. So it's an event. It's an attraction, and we try to give them, big off of our television show, what makes sense at the time.
Aaron Sheik wants to know, what was the most unique venue you've ever seen a wrestling event held in? We've seen some crazy ones through the years.
Times Square.
Yeah, that's probably got to be, yeah.
Yeah, Times Square, being in Times Square at noon anyway, but be in Times Square on a Friday at noon and shut it down and put a ring in the middle of Times Square and have your audience there and try and put together a show is insanity, but very cool. And then, next would be Wall Street. But we've done some incredible things. I know,
Penn Station was on the list too.
Yeah, but that was easy. I mean, that was indoors.
Okay.
Outdoors, man, you get in Mother Nature's territory, and she doesn't always like to talk to you ahead of time, tell you what she wants to do. So it's interesting, and I this is for another time, but during the pandemic, some of the suggestions of things to do, I wanted to do abandoned asylums and abandoned prisons and things like that. These are places that are abandoned. Nobody's in them anyway, so you don't have to worry about COVID and social distancing or anything like that. It would added a unique location to make the show different just in and of itself. So the location would in many ways been the attraction, but you weren't having crowds and everything. So we tried to look at different ways to present it.
Great question here from Bringer of Steam, who wants to know, if Triple H had been healthy at the time, how would Bruce have booked his role in the invasion angle? So let me just say, who would you have programmed him with? So we know, like, it wound up being DDP and The Undertaker, and we got, so we know all these different versions, Booker T and Stone Cold. Like, who would Triple H have paired off with in that scenario?
Well, the idea was for Steve and Triple H to be a team and just to be on a whole power thing and go through everybody. And, those talent were Undertaker and, God, I know Undertaker was a big one, but look, it really wouldn't have been the invasion angle per se, at least at that time.
Let's do another one here. This one is from Jeff. He wants to know, if you could go back and change the outcome of any WrestleMania main event, what would it be?
WrestleMania 9, Bret and Yoko with Hogan coming out.
What would you have done instead?
I think I would have just had Yoko squash Bret. Well, no, I mean, they would have had a match. It's just the Yoko did the thing, boom, squish him, and be done.
All these hardcore Bret Hart fans, ever since we did WrestleMania 9, have just blistered our ass about that conversation. And when you said that, I was like, oh, wow, I didn't think that. I thought for sure he was going to say 17, so he wouldn't have, Austin turn heel and shake Vince's hand. But you're like, nah, just beat Bret, but faster, and just roll.
No, not faster. No, not faster. It's just a decisive squish and hard-fought battle, but like to leave it with who is going to be able to overcome this mammoth Yokozuna. And your best shot going into it is your champion. And Bret can't do it. And Bret gets squashed in the end. And it's like, who could possibly survive that? And unfortunately, Yoko does that and then gets leg dropped and pinned 2 minutes after that.
Axe Cutter wants to know, what's Bruce's favorite Royal Rumble memory? Do you have one favorite Royal Rumble moment?
The first time that we had Diesel just kind of run through everybody was pretty cool. That was fun. That worked. That actually probably worked better than we even imagined it would. We thought it all out. We're like, well, this will be so cool, man. It's like this big bastard. Everybody comes in, he just dumps, and it's so devastating. And I thought that was cool. Before that, I wasn't there, but the Flair 91 was absolutely tremendous. I just thought that whole battle royal was booked great until the finish.
You're going to get 100 tweets about it. So he meant 92.
Okay, 92. Thank you. You know what I meant.
I know what
Don't listen to what I say. Listen to what I mean.
James says, what was Vince's reaction to the Sandman entrance at ECW One Night Stand after paying for the rights to Metallica's Enter Sandman? I was there that night. It was unbelievable, but I never thought to ask you, what did Vince think of that entrance and that presentation?
Who asked that question?
That's James.
James, you were there. You tell me. I wasn't there. I didn't do any of those ECW pay-per-views at all. So I couldn't tell you, man. I was never.
Where was he on people coming through the crowd? Did he like that as opposed to the ramp?
It depended on the person, I think. You know, if it was right and it felt good, then yeah, do it. But I didn't do any of the ECW stuff, man. I let them do their stuff.
Here's a question from Thomas. He says, after just watching Clash at the Castle, what show or event has had the best live crowd, in your opinion?
Ever? Man, I go back to WrestleMania 17. I thought that Houston crowd
in the
Dome, that was absolutely incredible all night long. The pop when Linda McMahon stood up out of the wheelchair, just deafening. It was they were into everything that we did. That was incredible, and just stands out for me. And it's probably sentimental because it was Houston, and I was there, and it was just very, very cool. Just in general, man, you know, it's listening to the audience in Toronto with Hulk and Rock. Remember just standing on the floor and looking around going, they know that Rock's the babyface, right? And they didn't give a fuck. They wanted Hulk Hogan. They wanted their guy. They wanted red and yellow. They didn't want this fucking Hollywood bullshit. They wanted red and yellow Hulk Hogan. And that's the power, you know, when you talk about the NWO and how great it was and everything that it did. At the end of the day, the bigger audience, the overall audience, wanted Hulk Hogan, red and yellow. They didn't want that fucking Hollywood shit. That wasn't true to them, and that was so when I preached about, man, different audiences, the WWF audience, WWE audience, and WCW audience, different audiences. WCW audience hated Hulk Hogan, red and yellow, because he represented everything from the other guys. But WWE, they wanted their Hulk Hogan. They didn't want that. Yeah, why is he doing the beard black and shit? It's stupid. So that was a big that one was a big one. That was an incredible reaction to be on, and I got to be on the floor for it. So you're in the middle of it, and I love to do that.
Dustin wants to know, ask Bruce about his Hubcap Burger experience when he was living in Friendswood and how the owner, Ricky, pissed him off, LOL. I don't know this story, but clearly somebody has inside information here.
Oh, who asked this question?
Dustin Bennett.
Dustin, Ricky's a little bitch at Hubcap Grill. So there's this place called Hubcap Grill. They had one in Galveston. They had one in League City. We went to the one in League City and ordered, and they talk about how we make everything fresh. Everything, you know, takes longer for our burgers because we make everything from scratch. Cool. Okay, great. By the way, good burgers. And I ordered, and I wanted a cheesesteak burger. And I said, I want, you know, the cheesesteak, but I just want the steak and onions, no bell pepper. They go, yeah, that's all pre-made. We can't take the peppers out. I said, your sign right there says we make everything fresh, everything, nothing's pre-made. Yeah, well, that is. Okay, so I get something else. Sit down. Now, at the time, there are 2 other tables at this place when I ordered. Okay, 2 and us. 45 minutes go by. 45 minutes. We had ordered 3 burgers, 3 fries, 3 drinks. We got our drinks. And I go up and I say, excuse me, did you guys forget about us? No, it just takes a while. 45 minutes for a burger. He says, yes, sir, we make everything from scratch. He says, well, you don't make your steak and cheese from scratch. It's pre-made. You just told me that. Well, that, yeah. So I tweeted to them, sent a message. I said, hey, I said, your sign says blah, blah, blah. Well, it should say blah, 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 except for the cheesesteak. And I don't know, man, but 45 minutes for a burger is a little too long. So we're sitting there. Now we're at an hour. And they say over the speaker, Bruce Prichard, we have a call for you. I go, what? I go, yeah, here, give me the phone. And it's the owner. He goes, did you get the fucking burger? I said, who is this? And he says, I'm Ricky, whatever the hell his name is. And I said, I'm the owner. Did you get your fucking burger? I said, yeah, about 2 minutes ago, man. And he says, good. You going to stop bitching on Twitter? And I'm like, where are you? And he's like, I'm working. I said, well, I'm in League City. You got a problem? I'm here. Come on down. Matter of fact, I will wait for you. Or tell me where you are, and I will come to you, and we can discuss it. And he says, yeah, fuck you, don't come back.
Wow.
And I'm like, where are you? And so I said, he told me to the girl behind the thing, right? She doesn't know what's going on. Maybe she did. And I'm like, where did he call from? She goes, I think he's at the downtown store. Okay. So I go over and take my hamburger, throw it in the trash, tell Steph and Amber, I said, let's go. I'm going downtown, which is about 40 minutes from where we were. He's like, I'm not going anywhere. I want to eat my burger. I'm hungry. We waited an hour. And so I go to tweet on the thing, and he's already blocked me. First time I'd ever been blocked. Didn't even know how, me. I don't know how that shit works. And so yeah, he's a little bitch. He opened up a restaurant down in Galveston, like a high-end restaurant that went broke. But I mean, how does it take an hour to make a burger? Shit you not. We were at home and I said, I want a burger. And we drove to HEB, got everything I needed for a burger, came home, lit my big green egg, made the burger, cooked the burger, ate the burger in less than 45 minutes. So, yeah, you know what? Fuck little Ricky.
And on that note, I want to remind you about our great sponsor over at theamazingkind.com.
Yeah.
It cures what ails you unless it takes an hour to make a burger, and that really pisses Bruce off. But thankfully, they've got topicals over there that are really helping Bruce. I think everybody knows that my man has been like on the operation table a lot more than normal in the last 12 months. And he's been looking for anything that could bring him some relief. He didn't have to look any further than theamazingkind.com. That's where he found plant-based pain relief balms, creams, and gels for muscles and joints, and even infused oils for mood support and sleep. It's all at theamazingkind.com, and you can get 20% off your order with our promo code right now, WRESTLE. Your body will thank you. Their products are of the highest quality at theamazingkind.com. They're sourced from GMP certified manufacturers and even tested for quality and purity to ensure that what you're buying is exactly what it says on the label. The Amazing Kind infused oils, by the way, are made from all natural sun-grown hemp and infused with nutrient-dense MCT oil. But what we're talking about today are these high-quality topical balms, creams, and gels for muscles and joint relief. And I want to mention too, I know I've said this before, the founder of theamazingkind.com, man, he's one of us, a big wrestling fan. He used to actually work for WWE, believe it or not. He helped them with commercials and marketing. I have absolutely loved this product. I know Bruce has too. And the Amazing Kind can hook you up. We mentioned the oils, but the topicals, man, the CBD topicals. If you've got an area of pain or discomfort, maybe you overdid it at the gym, maybe you hurt yourself working in the yard, maybe you've just got joint pain, maybe you know when it's going to rain before the forecast shows. Listen, they can help you alleviate the pain and inflammation in the targeted area. You just go ahead and apply it topically. You just rub it right on. And it's even been associated with helping things like arthritis and dermatitis and just general skin irritation. But it really is going to help you in muscle recovery. So if maybe you've got some aches and pains, or you just need to soothe yourself after a post-workout soreness, maybe you've got some muscle tension and keeps you up at night, this stuff is the real deal. And as I mentioned, it can help with other stuff too: acne, psoriasis, eczema, even just dry skin. I can't recommend this enough. I even hooked up Frances in my office with some of this. She would rub it on her temples or her neck, and she believes she's had less tension, headaches, and fewer migraines as a result. Man, if you're looking for relief, look no further than theamazingkind.com. This is a great company backed by a great dude, and the products really work. Try it right now at theamazingkind.com. Get 20% off your order when you use our promo code WRESTLE. That's theamazingkind.com. Use our promo code WRESTLE. Bruce, tell everybody what you thought about The Amazing Kind.
Well, I took some CBD and CBN, and it helps you sleep. And the topicals, as he said, man, if you've got a bad shoulder, you got a bad elbow, you rub it in. Smells great. But even better, it will make you feel great. It's going to take those aches and pains away and soothe them and make them where, you know what? I'm better now.
Check it out, theamazingkind.com, promo code WRESTLE. Save yourself 20% and get to feeling better with our friends at theamazingkind.com. Jay has a question for you.
Wait a minute. Yep. Oh, shit. Wait. What? Wait. Conrad? Yes. Go back to 2-shot.
Yes.
What is that behind your left ear?
Oh, my God. How did you do this? You've been hanging out with Fantasia again.
Yeah.
Dude, I didn't even feel it.
It was behind your ear.
You got to see this, boys and girls.
It was right there behind your ear. Wait, no,
this
over
one?
there.
Oh, this one.
What's that? What? No, that one.
Oh, is this one?
That one. Yeah, that one.
Dude, that was really cool. Pull it out. Pull it out. Pull it out. Pull it out.
Here, wait.
Oh, I feel better when it comes all the way out. We'll work on that. We'll have it down by next week. Jay wants to know, what's Bruce's plan for retirement? Anything he wants to do? I guess the answer is fucking magic.
Yeah. That's good.
God. What's the biggest crowd pop you ever heard?
Oh, anytime I came out.
Oh, come on now. Is it WrestleMania 18? Is it when Austin came out to make the save on Foley and Worcester?
Man, you know, look, you got to understand, it's different. For me, one of the most intense, incredible crowd pops there been was Sacramento, Hulk, Saturday night's main event, me in the middle of the ring, Hulk coming back. I don't think Hulk had ever been out that long before. And so him come, it was literally deafening. Stone Cold, man, back in the day, holy shit, that glass broke and you couldn't hear yourself think. The Rock, man, recently coming back, holy shit, again. But in Lyon, to have an emergency notifying system because the decibel level is so high in the area because of the loudness in one building. That was just holy. I mean, that was just all night. That was to everything. That was an event that the audience, they came to play, and that was incredible.
Ryan Austin has a great question. I know you'll have an answer for. What is Bruce Prichard's favorite Sexy Red song?
I'm a Sexy Red. I don't know.
I thought you were going to be a Pound Town fan.
A what?
Pound Town. You ever been to Pound Town, Bruce?
Did you take me there?
Hell no, I have not. Oh, okay. I'm never taking you there.
No?
No.
Why not?
That's not my thing.
Well,
I mean, I can show you the way. I can point you in the right direction.
Right there.
I'm no. Amadeo says, who chose what matches went on the Coliseum home videotapes?
Early on, a gentleman by the name of Steve Hecht.
Steve who?
Hecht.
Okay.
He was an executive for Coliseum Videos. He was a producer, and they had access to our library of, cards from Madison Square Garden, Philadelphia, Boston, LA, and like our dark matches and things of that nature. And he would pick matches from that to put on Coliseum Video. Then he would produce things, wraparounds with Mean Gene and different stuff. But he's one of the reasons that I ended up overseeing Coliseum Video.
Because he was picking the wrong shit?
Well, if you go back and you watch, I think it may have been like Best of Hulk Hogan, Volume 19, whatever. I don't know. It was like one of those Best of Hulk Hogan. And they had Hulk Hogan versus Harley Race.
That was a good match.
It was Madison Square Garden. And then they had the rematch, Hulk Hogan versus Harley Race in Boston, or it was vice versa.
God, okay.
It was exactly
the same match.
Exactly the same match.
I got you.
And I about had a conniption because we had no approval process in any of this. It was like, right. I didn't see it till it came out. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? And then when you ask a question, usually it's congratulations. Oversee it.
J.M. Wagner says, when did you first notice the change from the referee dropping the hand 3 times to just 1 when a wrestler was in a sleeper or a bear hug? Was it the popularity with the UFC and MMA? I remember it being a big Hogan comeback spot. I think most of us remember that.
It's everybody's comeback spot.
When did that change?
I don't know, but probably in the last 10, 15 years. And probably was due to the MMA and different things. I have my little quirks on all that shit too. It's funny. We were talking back in the day, back in the olden days, by God, and men were men. You used to, guy would come into the territory and would have the sleeper as a finish. So he put the sleeper on. And by the way, you put a sleeper hold on like this. That's not a sleeper. Okay, the sleeper, you've got to get behind the head and get the carotid artery, and then you push from behind. Kids don't try that at home. So I hate when guys do, Piper's was awful, horrible. Most everybody's was awful, horrible. What the fuck was I talking about? Oh, but back in the old days, if somebody had a sleeper as finish, after they put them to sleep, they were the only ones that could wake them up. And that was the thing, man. Got to master the sleeper. Okay, you put them to sleep, man. You've got to wake them up. You have to wake them up. And sometimes the heel would sometimes take too long, and the commentator would say, "Oh my God, if he doesn't wake him up, he's losing blood. He's losing blood to his brain right now. This is a very dangerous situation. This man has got to release that so that the blood can get back to the brain and he can get oxygen to the brain again. This bastard." And then the guy would come over and massage shoulders a little bit, reach back, and then and you'd wake up. But I'm a fan. And the referee is usually a former grappler. And the referees refereed a lot of these matches and seen the guy wake him up, massage shoulder, bam, pop him. Why don't they just do it? Why you gotta make the heel do it? Never understood that. But I don't even know what the question was, but I think that answered it.
It answered it really well. Endo wants to know, is there any wrestler from your territory days you would have loved to have brought with you to the WWF?
Gino Hernandez.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yep. Always, man. I just feel that the world was robbed of Gino Hernandez on a national and global basis. I think that Gino would have been great in WWE. I just think that he was tailor-made for it.
Todd Clay says, I've heard a few wrestlers, including Ric Flair, say this. Do you believe if WWE would have went with heel Piper as champion with the chase of Hogan, WWE would have still been as successful? Do you agree with this?
I do not. I think that they needed that babyface hero champion. Look, it worked for New York forever, and there was no proof that it wouldn't work globally. And then it was proven that it would work globally. And to those that had only been exposed to like the NWA and places where they had a heel champion, babyface chasing, it proved successful and proved more successful than the heel champion. I think, as time has gone on, the audience obviously has taken to and accepted heel champions, much more so now than I think they would have then. I came from the South, man. I came from the NWA. That's all I knew was the heel champion and the chase. But at the same time, to build your baby faces, it always, it's tough because you build up a guy to face the champion, then champion comes in and your baby face is not successful. So he's less than. So to me, that was the flaw in that plan. Even if it's an hour Broadway, couldn't beat the champion. If he was that good, he would be, he'd beat the champion. So that was kind of the flaw in that. Versus having a popular champion that everyone adores, that you would need to build up in your own territory as a champion, the popular champion. To come in and beat your heel, that's no big deal. Heels can lose. And you want them to lose, and you're paying to see them get their ass kicked. So, it was different. I know in Houston, it was all about the championship, and that was the sell. That was if you had a personal issue around the championship, that was one thing, but that was very seldom, man. It was all about the title. So it was different.
Talking about the heel champion thing, it makes me think of our buddy Kevin Nash. He was recently on episode 2 of Who Killed WCW on Vice. Did you see that?
No.
Okay. You going to watch Who Killed WCW on Vice?
Who cares?
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's like it's been done to death. It's okay. Who killed it? I think it was a combination of a lot of things, but you have to look at who had the final decision. And the plausible suspects are the ones that are out in front. And to me, it's like, okay, but they can only do so much. Time Warner didn't want wrestling. And when Time Warner was in control, it's just interesting. The corporate side of that is for somebody to just not come out and say, I don't know, man. I think the people at Time Warner killed WCW. I think the business folks killed WCW because they sold it for $4 million. They didn't care. They just wanted it off their books. They just wanted it gone.
You're gonna get comments about that. I think the number was 2 million for the company and then 2 million in promised advertising. So you're accurate in saying 4 million, but I know that somebody's going to try to split hairs and say,
I'm sure they will. But that's the number.
Yeah. LV Runner 1975 says, given Andre's known physical condition heading into WrestleMania 3, was there a plan B main event that would have been ready to go should Andre not be ready for the angle in the match? Would it have been Orndorff versus Hogan as the main event?
I have no idea, but I know Vince did everything that was done was to get to that match, get Andre in the ring. So I have no idea. It wasn't there.
Post from Marv says, can you recommend 3 must-read wrestling books? Thanks. Have you read a bunch of wrestling books? Do you have any that stand out?
I have. I really enjoyed Gary Hart's book, and I know it's very hard to find. But Gary Hart's book was an entertaining read. Mick Foley's Have a Nice Day.
Excellent.
Very, very good read, man. And Mick wrote that all himself. So, you're getting the true voice of the person behind it. The rest of them, it's, you read Bill Watts' book, he invented everything and kicked everybody's ass. Beat everybody in the world. Anybody that ever disagreed with Bill kicked their ass. They're all just such bullshit. One that's bullshit, but very entertaining. Dusty's is extremely entertaining. Terry Funk's is extremely entertaining. But I stopped reading them. I stopped reading them about the time that Kurt Angle and Hulks came out because it's just like, these are horrible. And those are ours.
Right. Reeds wants to know, has taking time to look in the past via the podcast, talking about seeing what worked and what didn't, help you in your current role in creative? That's something I never thought to ask, but I know that, when you're in the race car, it's just another show, another town. I mean, you're constantly got to feed the beast. But since you had a chance to step away from wrestling for a bit, and then we did do some deep dives on some creative, is that really the first time you would have had a chance to even think about what could have or should have happened instead?
Yeah. To this day and always kind of you always look back at what could have, what should have, and things of that nature. You always have to visit what worked, what didn't work, and probably pay more attention to what didn't work.
Right.
And how to fix it and why it didn't work. And obviously you pay attention to what worked because you want to replicate it. But yeah. I mean, it's something I've done. You have to, in your career, to get better, you have to reflect and look at history and better it.
Topics Everything podcast says, what were the original plans for Kazarni and WWE in 2008, if you can recall? I know he was only there for a cup of coffee, but I know that was a character that you probably would have had fun with. Did you have any hypothetical ideas you recall all these years later?
He was, look, man, Kazarni was somebody that we kind of looked at from a character standpoint, that he could have been a great character, much like Doink the Clown. And people often think of whenever I say Doink the Clown, they always go back, oh, God, Doink was, haha and all this other shit. Matt Bourne, the original Doink, was not haha. It was good, and it was getting over huge. So I think Kazarni would have been a character that would have just been a strong character. So there were no plans, specifically to do this. It was to get him introduced and get him rolling, but didn't get that far.
Another fun question here from I'm Just Cody. What's the funniest moment Bruce has had with a wrestler or talent that we don't normally associate with being a funny person? Who's low-key funny? And can you tell us one of those stories?
God, I don't know. of fun and shit that I've had is back, like Undertaker, hard to break Undertaker, especially when he's in character in the ring. And one of my last appearances when I came out of the box, so I was instantly over because I came out of the box. I jumped out of the box and jumped into Undertaker's arms, and I wrapped my arms and legs around him and was hugging him. And I whispered in his ear, I said, "I'm staying here. I'm not getting down. You're going to have to peel me off of you." And he stood stoically, didn't just stood there stoically, didn't sell a bit. And then finally he was like, "Get off me, motherfucker." I'm like, all right. And I finally climbed down off that big son of a bitch. But that was when I wanted to break him. I think, going on and I love to try to, I like to try to break people. I like to try to, as Brother Love did stuff with Vince and Zach Gowen going around, and I love to break Vince just to say I did. Healed him and messed his hair up, which was funny because there was nothing he could do. I had no idea what I was going to do. But somebody that, wow. I'll tell you a guy that is one of the funniest human beings on the face of the earth that you'd never know is William Regal.
Yes.
I mean, the other day, before I went to France, I asked him, I said, "Hey, I'm going to spend a few days in France. Do you know any French you could teach me?" He says, "Well, he goes, I could teach you." He goes, "You like wine?" I said, "Oh yeah, I love wine." He goes, "Well, the word for wine is vin." And he goes, cheese goes good with wine. He goes, the cheese is fromage. So when I went to France, I was drunk and constipated the whole time. Now, he does this shit to me all night long, sitting next to me. And it's just dry and serious as can be the whole fucking time. And he's just like, I'm constantly laughing. And I just look, and I'm a straight man. And then he gets pissed when I try to tell his jokes. And yeah.
Be a Light has a great question. Maybe this will wind us up. I don't know. We'll see if there's any good ones that jump out. But any advice on how to handle yourself after a big career setback? No need for a wrestling story to be part of the answer, though it would be welcome. I'm just looking for some basic coaching from a guy who has been through it all.
Introspective. Just be honest. Look at yourself, look in the mirror, and be honest with what you see and what you hear, and listen to other people's as long as they're giving you honest, real feedback, and take it to heart and decide, do I want to fix that or do I not want to fix that? And do the work. And the biggest thing is look in the mirror and be honest with what you see, and listen to those around you that you trust to give you honest feedback and honest perspective. Because I heard this a million times, perception's reality. So whether or not what you hear is true, whether it's actually factual, really doesn't matter sometimes. Because if the other people perceive that's how you are, or what happened or what didn't happen, then it's up to you to change that perspective and that perception. And just, you gotta go through it. I mean, look, you were with me at my lowest point and helped me get through it by pretty much saying, "What the fuck?" And I threw away a lot of the rules that I had placed upon myself and boundaries I had placed on myself. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. I don't know what a podcast is, man. No, I'm not going to share that. Not going to go there, man. Not me. And when I finally said, it's uncomfortable, but sure, man. You know what? I haven't done it. I'll do it. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go do live shows.
Yeah, you didn't want to do a podcast, period,
at all.
Yeah,
terrified. But those were boundaries I put on myself. Don't put boundaries on yourself. Let it go. Try stuff. Try things that you never, ever in a million years ever thought you'd do. Try them. Get out of your comfort zone is probably the best advice I can give you. Is get out of your comfort zone and just go for it. And there's two reasons why people fail: FOF and FOP, fear of failure and fear of people. And get over it. Move on.
Excellent advice. Glenn Brockhurst wants to know, what was the original plan in 2002? With Triple H, the NWO, and Shawn Michaels returned to the ring before Kevin Nash went down and got hurt and the NWO was disbanded. Do you think we still would have gotten Shawn versus Hunter at SummerSlam? That's an interesting question. Would that have still happened?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think there were high hopes for the NWO in the beginning till they showed up. So, you had Scott, who was having his issues, and then Kevin had his issues, and you're stuck with Hollywood Hogan, who people really didn't want. They wanted Hulk. So it was, that's another one. You get to, you listen to the hype, and the hype coming from outside of the house is not always accurate.
Here's one from Chico. He says, true or false? Rumor had it at the time when Nash was done filming The Punisher, he was supposed to be the one to cash in on the bounty Triple H had placed on Goldberg's head. It ended up being Batista instead to form Evolution. That's an interesting question. Do you recall? Was it supposed to be Nash?
Never heard that.
Okay.
No, it was always, to my knowledge, and what we discussed, it was Batista.
Indian Curry Cell says, if Ahmed had not been injured in 97, would he have feuded with The Undertaker?
God, you really would have wanted Undertaker to hate me even more.
Yeah, really.
Probably not. Hopefully, if someone's injured, they go away and they come back and they've learned a new hold, and you want them to get better, and that wasn't necessarily the case with Ahmed. So it just got worse.
Johnny Sanders has a fun question. What's one storyline you thought was going to be a hit, but it sucked? And what's one you thought was going to suck, but it turned out great? So let's do that one first. Is there one where you're like, this is a terrible idea, it'll never work, and then you see it and you're like, well, I'll be a son of a bitch, that was awesome? Like when I asked Rick about this a few years ago, and I know we don't talk about current stuff, but he was like, Sami Zayn and the Bloodline, I don't get it. It was terrible. And then a few weeks later, he called me laughing and he goes, I was wrong. This shit's awesome. Is there one like that where Rick had that light bulb where he had a change of heart and you did too?
I mean, there's probably a gazillion of them, but and my mind immediately goes to things that we didn't do that I think could have worked. Hogan and Dusty and things like that. But it's a terrible one. This one I thought would work, but and we were only 2 weeks into it, and I went, what have we done? Was Piper and Jerry Lawler. Both great mouths, both great promos, old school, know how to. It was beyond rotten. It was some of the worst shit I'd ever seen and or heard from both guys. And I couldn't wait for it to be over. And I remember we were thinking about, okay, if we do this at King of the Ring, then we can come back with this. before we ever even got to King of the Ring, I was like, is there any way we can just blow this off on TV? Oh my God, I don't want to see this. And then we put it in the main event. Oh my God, it was horrible. Absolutely horrible. But in talking about it, man, these are two of the biggest stars the business has ever known. Both great promos, both great workers. Yeah, it was rotten. It was so bad. Things that I didn't think. Maybe the I hated the Edge and Christian 5-second pose, but it got over and it was entertaining as hell. I was like, this is stupid. Okay, do it one time. But that worked and that was fun. Steve as a heel didn't work. That was terrible. But yeah, there's probably a few. I hate it when by the way, great question. And I will probably think about it and come back and have an answer in future weeks when I'm thinking or I'm not thinking about it. But yeah.
RT wants to know.
RT
wants to know, was Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert ever given a look in the late 80s or early 90s? And if he was, or if he had, does Bruce thinks he could have had a good run there?
Where, WWE?
Yeah, could Eddie Gilbert have worked in the WWE?
I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Eddie Gilbert meeting with Vince. It's Eddie Gilbert who met with Vince with Missy. And we had a show in Houston, 2-ring battle royal, and everything went wrong. And Paul and Pete were upset because Bill wanted me to do the angle, be the commentator, do the angle because I was on the national show. And Paul was like, it's in Houston, so I do it, meaning Paul would do it. And they got in a pissing contest. And so we let Paul do one version of it, and I did the national version of it. And I was so mad and hurt more than anything. I was like, oh God, why wouldn't they want me to do this? You know what I mean? It hurt. And I was pissed. And Eddie saw how pissed I was. And I said, man, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of here. I can't do this anymore, man. They're every turn. It's fuck me, So Eddie went to go meet with Vince, met with Vince, and said, hey, there's this guy in Houston, Bruce Prichard. He does all the shit in Houston. He does this, he does that, blah, blah, blah. He's on air. He does. And Vince says, tell him to call me on Thursday. Here's my number. And the rest, as they say, is history. But I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Eddie Gilbert. So Eddie Gilbert met with Vince. They wanted Missy. They would have taken Eddie. And I actually had an idea for Eddie to be kind of like a Piper's Pit type thing and be a talk show shit, be a manager type of thing. But Eddie also wanted to be a booker. So at the time, Ken Mantell was kind of, on his way out. The whole Crockett thing was happening where Crockett bought Mid-South, and Eddie Gilbert saw an opportunity to be a booker. And Eddie decided, no, I want to stay and I want to be a booker.
John Murphy 2383 wants to know, does Bruce think he could have succeeded as a manager during the Attitude Era?
Yeah, definitely, easily.
Who would you have liked to have managed? And would you have done it as an evil Brother Love like we've talked about before? Or would you have been Bruce Prichard or Rio Rogers? Or
I would have loved to have had the opportunity to manage Undertaker at that time.
As Brother Love?
As Brother Love or Bruce, whatever the hell. A different version, not the Brother Love, white suit, red shirt, and all that. It would have been a different version of Brother Love, but an updated version. And yeah, I think that could have been fun.
You're saying during the Ministry era?
During the Attitude Era,
right.
Anytime in there.
Rocco the Man wants to know, what was the worst pay-per-view you were ever a part of?
The one I just talked about with Lawler and Piper on top. It was the King of the Ring in Baltimore.
Yeah.
And Art Donovan was doing color commentary. That probably is one of the worst events.
That last ECW pay-per-view too. December.
I'm not guilty. I didn't do it.
Okay. All right. Daniel wants to know, hey, Bruce, any interesting stories filming the primetime episodes on location?
They were fun. I mean, anytime you get out, man, we did Busch Gardens in Florida, and just being with Bobby and Gorilla out amongst the folks, and they never broke character. They were always on, and we were in the back of a truck, and I had my sheets and everything with the run sheet of the show, and while I'm talking to them, a giraffe came over my shoulder and started eating my papers out of my hand, and you know, the head's like just huge. So that, I mean, things like that we did. We got the run of the park. We got to feed hippos, and just everything we did was fun. I mean, it was the old Tucson, the Western town and stuff that they went. It was an old movie set, and it was literally an old ghost town that they turned into a movie set for Westerns. And we had the run of the place for 4 days with all the stunt people and everybody there. And Bobby's one-liners, one right after another, constantly. We would go to Atlantic City and do stuff there. And it was, you would walk in. Sometimes I had a plan, sometimes I didn't. Sometimes I just walk in and have to, which drives everybody nuts, because everybody, you know, wants to, well, what are we doing? I don't know. Let's get there and see what they have. And, you know, you walk into some place and you look around and go, can we get up there? And that's the fun of it to me. I think you have to be spontaneous, and you have to be in the moment and be able to adapt to your surroundings. Sometimes by looking at a picture or a video through someone else's eye doesn't always give you as much inspiration as being in the moment. And that was the beautiful thing about Bobby and Gorilla. They loved that. They liked being in the moment as well. They didn't like to plan stuff. They were like, they would plan things and say, why don't we do this? And then we'd get there and, okay, what do you want to do? Then we'd just come up with shit. And that was the beauty of creating in the moment and finding little things. Like, you can't, back in the day, I don't think you can at all today. You can't record on a casino floor. Strictly forbidden, illegal. We were able to shoot, and the caveat was that we couldn't rig the games in any way. That if we were going to shoot, that we could shoot if someone was gambling. Like, if we wanted to gamble, we could shoot that, but it had to be on the up and up. And so like, okay, you know, I found that loophole. I found a workaround, because, you know, everybody told me no, 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 no. Then you walk in with Gorilla Monsoon, and people go, "Hey, Gino, hey, Bob, how you doing? What do you need? Hey, what do you got? Yeah, hey, man, you're going to gamble anyway, right? Yeah, this here. I got this table for you. We'll keep everybody away. Do what you want to do." And
wow,
things get done a lot quicker, you know, when you got talent standing there and people, oh, hey, great.
Narcisco Sanchez says, I read in 1988 a Pro Wrestling Illustrated article that says there was supposed to be tag team intercontinental champions. What happened? Was that going to be like the NWA's U.S. tag team champions? Do you remember that? Was that ever discussed? Or is that just
what's the guy's name? Francisco?
Narcisco Sanchez.
Yeah. Well, Narcisco, I will give you the advice that was given to someone else a few months ago. I would consider your sources. Pro Wrestling Illustrated or the Wrestling Observer newsletter or any of those other things. They not real sources. That's not, no, that was never. That may have been discussed by fans and the like, but not by anybody that could get it done. No.
Was Mabel supposed to win the WWE Championship from Diesel at SummerSlam 95, but Diesel and Shawn Michaels told Vince McMahon not to let Mabel win the belt?
Was Mabel? And no.
Okay.
In no way, shape, or form.
Dr. Adam K., this is a fun one. Were there ever any discussions about possibly turning Brother Love into a babyface? And hypothetically, if you had continued managing The Undertaker into early 92 when he became a fan favorite, do you think you would have turned face along with him?
God, I don't see. I could never see myself being a babyface. I'm a hateable guy. Brother Love's a hateable guy.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean that would have been a stretch. Not that it couldn't be done. I would have accepted the challenge, but I just don't know that would have been something that really would have worked.
We're rounding the bases here. We got 2 questions left. This one comes to us from Master of Puppets. He says, I've heard you mention comedian Patrice O'Neal before, and that he had a very short stint in the writer's room. Any specific things you can recall that he may have pitched to creative? He was a hilarious dude gone way too soon. I love Patrice O'Neal's stand-up comedy. He's got some bits that I still steal and borrow from my friends every now and again. But we haven't spent a lot of time talking about him and his cup of coffee in WWE. You got any Patrice stories you can share?
None whatsoever. The only I remember about Patrice is that he went to go produce a Sunday Night Heat, and they couldn't find him because he was down playing video games. So that is the extent of my knowledge of Patrice on the writing team. I don't think he contributed anything. He just wanted to do a stand-up.
Last one, and you're going to love this one. I laughed out loud when I read it. I thought I was going to have to mute myself. If Bruce could button a shirt up to his neck, would he?
Fuck no. Dude, so not this one, okay? But most of my shirts don't even have a top button.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, please.
No,
you could have just answered that one.
I didn't think so because I'd never seen it, but I wasn't.
Yeah, no. And like when the shirts I get now, that the button does not exist. The buttonhole doesn't even exist. So even if somebody said button your top button, it would be like that one.
You gonna let the taco meat out?
That would be it, and that's as far as it would go.
That's professional Bruce right there.
That's professional Bruce. That's right.
Well, next week,
but this is Father's Day Bruce.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, Father's Day Bruce. Well, okay. So it's like sport mode with Silva and his Crocs, kinda.
Yeah, I guess.
Why does Silva need sport mode?
Why? And I was just going to say that would be something.
That and more questions will be answered next week when we talk about the Great American Bash 2004, the now infamous bull rope that was 20 years ago.
Oh my God!
And JBL. The handicap concrete crypt match, one of Bruce's favorite moments with The Undertaker.
Are you sure we haven't done this one before?
We've talked around it. I don't think we've talked about this specific show, but I know that as we've done profile pieces, we've hit some of those. We want to hear your questions, and you can ask them over on YouTube. If you haven't already, check it out. You can see Bruce's magic tricks, almost his nipple, everything in between. It's somethingtowrestle.com. Be sure to hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. Turn on the notifications bell. Also want to mention, if you're looking to target your business to 25 to 54-year-old men, well, there's no better place to advertise than right here. Find out how affordable it is at advertisewithbruce.com. You can keep up with all things Bruce Prichard at somethingtowrestle.com. Our merch is at somethingtowrestleshirts.com. And we're all over social media. It's at Prichard Show on Twitter and Instagram, Something to Wrestle over on Facebook. And in my real life, I'm still helping people save money, and I'd love to help you do that too. SaveWithConrad.com can hook you up. You can even skip your next 2 house payments, get rid of all that credit card debt, even get you the cash you need to turn your house into your dream home with no money out of pocket. And you don't need perfect credit to do this. You've got a friend in the mortgage business, and at SaveWithConrad.com, we don't say no. We say not yet, but here's how. So let's start saving some money together right now at SaveWithConrad.com. NMLS number 32416. Bruce, we have thoroughly asked you a bunch of questions, nearly 2 hours worth. It was a great visit today. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Father's Day, and
you too.
Find a nice spot to hang your painting that I know you're so fond of you and Cody.
Dude, do you not like it there?
I love it there.
That's like right, literally when you walk in the office, it's right there.
I love it.
I think that's it's perfect. It's all by itself. It's spotlighted.
Did you send a picture to Cody yet?
Oh yeah, yeah, in Scotland. And his mom saw it and said something about his nephew. That's right there.
You're his nephew?
That's his nephew.
You're his nephew. I thought
that's in the shop. That's Cody's nephew.
I got
that is his nephew. That is me.
And who are you having a loving embrace with?
Cody Riley Reynolds Jr. the Third.
All right, boys and girls, that'll do it. I hope you guys had a great Father's Day. Be sure to tune in to Monday Night Raw tonight, and be sure to tell your friends that Something to Wrestle is back in form, and we'll be here next week talking all things Great American Bash 2004 right here on Something to Wrestle with Bruce Prichard.
Sometimes Jimmy Jam came along. Those were the best times. Now they're gone. Rock on.